Leadership Preparation Webinar Series, Continuity of Learning for All Students During Building School Closures, Part 2. The Office of Leadership Development and School Improvement is comprised of an executive director reporting to the Assistant State Superintendent, coordinators for school improvement, academic improvement, and leadership development, as well as leadership specialists. Our office has three main goals: fostering the growth of effective leaders, ensuring valid and reliable evaluations, and raising the quality of education. We provide targeted professional learning experiences and resources to equip current and future leaders with the skills and knowledge required for successful school and district leadership. We oversee the development and implementation of Maryland's teacher and principal evaluation system. Training, guidance, and support is provided to local school systems in the implementation of fair and valid evaluations. Lastly, we provide customized professional learning experiences and support informed by data and grounded in effective practices to improve school performance. To earn continuing professional development credit, in order to receive 1 credit, you must view 5 webinars, including Part 1 and Part 2. Additionally, you will complete 3 hours of experiences per webinar to include pre-work, participant guides with the webinar, and extension activities. In order to receive 2 CPD credits, you must watch all the webinars in the series, including Part 1 and Part 2. Then you will complete 3 hours of experiences per webinar to include any pre-work, participant guides with the webinar, and extension activities. In order to submit your materials, please complete the Google form found in the description below the video. Let's meet the presenters. This webinar is presented by Laura Liccioni, Coordinator of Academic Improvement, and Anders Alisea, Instructional Transformation Specialist in the Office of Leadership Development and School Improvement at the Maryland State Department of Education.
To optimize the experience with this webinar, participants are asked to remain present and focused and to be open to new ideas, to trust the process and commit to the work that lies ahead. Part 2, participants will need the participant guide, a copy of a local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan developed in response to the COVID-19 emergency, the continuity of learning plan rubric, and the professional standards for educational leaders rubric. All of these materials can be found on the web-based document storage site app.box.com. Please pause this webinar now to complete 2 tasks. Access the document storage site app.box.com and download 1 local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan developed in response to the COVID-19 emergency, the continuity of learning plan rubric, and the professional standards for educational leaders rubric. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. For Part 2, participants will connect the last 5 professional standards for educational leaders, or PSEL, to what it means to be an effective school leader, and reflect on how a local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan developed in response to the COVID emergency can be used to inform the actions of an effective leader. The Part 2 objectives help to continue with the first step in the participant's journey to creating and collecting artifacts for a leadership development portfolio, building and applying background knowledge. In building and applying background knowledge, the agenda for Part 2 will include reflections on research associated with effective leadership as understood through the descriptors of the last 5 PSEL, and local school systems continuity of learning or distance learning plan developed in response to the COVID-19 emergency. The spring 2020 building school closures due to the spread of COVID-19 was a reminder that there are a variety of circumstances under which a school system or a state agency could decide to close school buildings and shift to a distance learning model. During such circumstances, it is important to be reminded that, according to the Wallace Foundation, the contribution of effective leadership is largest when it is needed most. This webinar will help to unpack participants' thoughts on effective leadership during extended periods of building school closures through the lens of the professional standards for educational leaders. To that end, pre-work, a 2-part recorded webinar, and an extension experience have been developed. But what are the professional standards for educational leaders? According to the Maryland State Department of Education's October 2019 Professional Standards for Educational Leaders rubric, the PCEL defined the practice of an effective leader. There are 10 interdependent standards in the PCEL which reflect leadership work that research and practice suggest is essential to student success. These standards are PCEL 1, Mission, Vision, Core, Values; PCEL 2, Ethics and Professional Norms; PCEL 3, Equity and Cultural Responsiveness; PCEL 4, Curriculum, Instruction, Assessment; PCEL 5, Community of Care and Support for Students; PCEL 6, Professional Capacity for School Personnel; PCEL 7, Professional Community for Teachers and Staff; PCEL 8, Meaningful Engagement of Families and Community; PCEL 9, Operations and Management; PCEL 10, School Improvement. This second part of a 2-part webinar has been created to provide participants with a focus on the last 5 standards: PCEL 6, Professional Capacity for School Personnel; PCEL 7, Professional Community for Teachers and Staff; PCEL 8, Meaningful Engagement of Families and Community; PCEL 9, Operations and Management; and PCEL 10, School Improvement. Using the professional standards for educational leaders as a foundation, a review of the PCEL descriptors will enable better clarity of what these standards look like in practice. And to provide context for those practices, participants will be asked to review any local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan that was developed in response to the COVID-19 emergency. In the early spring of 2020, local school systems developed continuity of learning or distance learning plans in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. These plans were intended to inform every stakeholder on how teaching and learning was going to continue within a distance learning model. Each local school system's plan was evaluated by the Maryland State Department of Education against the Continuity of Learning Plan rubric on its ability to develop practical and sustainable teaching and learning practices across 8 required components. What resulted was not only a plan that served to guide local school system administrators and teachers in the best practices of providing students with a free, appropriate public education remotely, but also with an effective template that can be used to address the continuity of learning during any future circumstances that would necessitate an extended period of building school closures. Local school systems are required to develop and implement effective continuity of learning or distance learning plans using data and action steps aligned to 8 essential components. 1. Continuity of learning plan description. 2. Technology and access. 3. Roles and responsibilities. 4. Sample days. 5. Accountability and grading. 6. Equity plan. 7. Professional learning. 8. Resources. For this webinar, participants will be reviewing a copy of a local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan that was developed in response to the COVID-19 emergency. Plans may be accessed from the app.box.com. Take note, not all plans included in this webinar represent final draft documents from the local school systems. It should be assumed that plans have since been updated and made public. To explore the 8 components, please pause this webinar now to download and open a local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan that was developed in response to the COVID-19 emergency, if you have not done so already. As each of the 8 components of an effective continuity of learning or distance learning plan are explained, please pause this webinar at your discretion to explore those components in the local school system's plan that you chose to review. A continuity of learning or distance learning plan must address 1. The delivery method of instruction during the period of building school closures, and 2. How a needs assessment will be used to ascertain the device and connectivity needs of students and teachers, and how the local school system will respond to that data. Each continuity of learning or distance learning plan must also address 3. The roles and responsibilities of district staff, school administrators, teachers, instructional assistants, students, and parents during the period of remote learning. And 4. How instructional days will be structured by providing samples of elementary, middle, and high school teachers and student schedule. Each continuity of learning or distance learning plan must also address 5. How the local school system will monitor and assess the implementation of the plan, and how the local school system will adjust the grading policy for the balance of the school year. And 6. How the local school system will ensure equity for special education students, English learners, students with academic needs, and homeless students. Each continuity of learning or distance learning plan must also address 7. The identification of and response to the professional needs of teachers and staff in a professional development plan. And 8. The academic and social emotional resources, though not limited to these, currently available online, at school, or virtually to students and their families. When transitioning schools into a distance learning model due to any emergency circumstances, the P-cell can serve to reground and inform school leadership in making that transition. Therefore, the central question of this webinar is, how can the P-cell guide what an effective leader will do to successfully implement a local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan that would be developed in response to any school emergency? Please pause the webinar now to open the Professional Standards for Educational Leaders rubric developed by the Maryland State Department of Education. Open to pages 13 through 17. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. According to the Maryland State Department of Education's October 2019 Professional Standards for Educational Leaders rubric, the Maryland P-cell rubric builds off of the practices identified for an effective leader in the P-cell document by expanding the definition to include descriptors of highly effective, effective, developing, and ineffective administrators. For instance, as indicated by a descriptor for each of the last 5 P-cell, effective leaders establish performance expectations for all staff members and hold staff members accountable, distribute leadership opportunities to staff to advance student learning and social emotional well-being. They advocate publicly on behalf of the school system for family and community support of schools. They protect student learning time and teacher professional learning time from disruption, and establish and implement a system to monitor progress towards meeting identified improvement goals. As a sample of what school leaders need to know and do in education, these descriptors will be connected to one or more of the 8 components of an effective continuity of learning or distance learning plan, thus providing action steps for what school leaders would do during a period of extended building school closures. Let's take a deeper look. For the first example, P-cell 6, descriptor 2, states that an effective leader establishes performance expectations for all staff members and holds staff members accountable for meeting expectations through the evaluation cycle in a collaborative process with celebration of success. Some keywords or phrases that may stand out from this descriptor are performance expectations and accountable for meeting expectations. These phrases connect best to 2 of the 8 components of an effective continuity of learning or distance learning plan: continuity of learning plan description and roles and responsibilities. After reading the roles and responsibilities and accountability and grading sections of the Pretend County Public Schools Continuity of Learning Plan, possible actions that would support the implementation of the plan could be for the school leader to meet individually with teachers and staff to clarify how performance expectations will shift from face-to-face to remote to hybrid learning models. Under accountability and grading, the school leader may address how teachers and staff will be observed, coached, and evaluated in the local school system's adopted learning model, whether that be remote, hybrid, face-to-face, during a faculty meeting. Let's see how you do with a second P-cell 6 descriptor. This P-cell 6 descriptor 5 states that an effective leader provides job-embedded professional learning and continuous improvement experiences that are differentiated, data-informed, and results in improvement to professional practice, student learning, and work-life balance of faculty and staff. Reflect on keywords from the given P-cell descriptor. Then select one or more of the 8 components of an effective continuity of learning or distance learning plan that best match your keywords. Write down the component or components in your participant guide under To Go with Part 2, Slide 23. Please pause this webinar now to complete this task. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. Review those sections of the local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan that you chose. Please pause this webinar now to complete this task. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. Imagine that you are an elementary, middle, or high school principal, and in the space provided in your participant guide, under To Go with Part 2, Slide 24, write a list of actions you would take to support the implementation of the local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan that you chose. Please pause this webinar now to complete this task. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. For the second example, Pc7 Descriptor 3 states that an effective leader distributes leadership opportunities to staff for the purpose of advancing student learning and social-emotional well-being. Some keywords or phrases that may stand out from this descriptor are leadership opportunities and advancing student learning. These phrases connect best to one of the 8 subcomponents of an effective continuity of learning or distance learning plan, and that is professional learning. After reading the professional learning section of the Pretend County Public Schools Continuity of Learning Plan, possible actions that would support the implementation of the plan could be for the school leader to identify teachers who have excelled at distance or remote teaching and encourage them to share their successes at a faculty meeting, or to present to colleagues at the next system-wide professional learning opportunity. Let's see how you do with the second Pc7 descriptor. This Pc7 descriptor 4 states that an effective leader provides opportunities and structures for staff to learn from each other and design professional learning experiences to improve student learning. Reflect on key words from the given Pc descriptor. Then select one or more of the 8 components of an effective continuity of learning or distance learning plan that best match your keywords. Write down the component or components in your participant guide under To Go with Part 2, Slide 27. Please pause this webinar now to complete this task. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. Review those sections of the local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan that you chose. Please pause this webinar now to complete this task. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. Imagine that you're an elementary, middle, or high school principal, and in the space provided in your participant guide under To Go with Part 2, Slide 28, write a list of actions you would take to support the implementation of the local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan that you chose. Please pause this webinar now to complete this task. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. For the third example, Pc8 Descriptor 8 states that an effective leader advocates publicly on behalf of the school system for needs for family and community support of schools. Some key words or phrases that may stand out from this descriptor are advocates, need, and support of schools. These phrases connect best to one of the 8 components of an effective continuity of learning or distance learning plan, and that is technology and access. After reading the Technology and Access section of the Pretend County Public Schools Continuity of Learning Plan, possible actions that would support the implementation of the plan could be for the school leader to meet with local telecommunications leaders, Verizon, AT&T, and Comcast, for example, as well as the public library system to help support the connectivity needs of students and teachers. School leaders could also work with local authorized computer retailers on acquiring or leasing additional peripheral hardware for teachers. Let's see how you do with the second Pc8 descriptor. This Pc8 descriptor 3 states that an effective leader employs a variety of communication strategies to effectively engage in two-way communication with families and community members that support student needs. Reflect on keywords from the given Pc7 descriptor, then select one or more of the 8 components of an effective continuity of learning or distance learning plan that best match your keywords. Write down the component or components in your participant guide under To Go with Part 2, Slide 31. Please pause this webinar now to complete this task. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. Review those sections of the local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan that you chose. Please pause this webinar now to complete this task. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. Imagine that you are an elementary, middle, or high school principal, and in the space provided in your participant guide, under To Go with Part 2, Slide 32, write a list of actions you would take to support the implementation of the local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan that you chose. Please pause this webinar now to complete this task. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. For the fourth example, Pc7 9, Descriptor 4 states that an effective leader protects student learning time and teacher professional learning time from disruptions. Some keywords or phrases that may stand out from the descriptor are protect student and teacher time. These phrases connect best to one of the 8 components of an effective continuity of learning or distance learning plan, that being sample days. After reading the sample days section of the Pretend County Public Schools Continuity of Learning Plan, possible actions that would support the implementation of the plan could be for the school leader to develop a schedule that clearly designates time for teachers to plan collaboratively over Zoom or Google Meet or another platform, and also to develop a schedule that clearly designates time for virtual community building among students, for social emotional support, as well as academic support. Let's see how you do with the second Pc7 9 descriptor. This Pc7 9 descriptor 1 states that an effective leader advocates for and seeks to acquire resources that meet the needs of staff and students. Reflect on keywords from the given Pc7 descriptor, then select one or more of the 8 components of an effective continuity of learning or distance learning plan that best matches your keywords. Write down the component or components in your participant guide under To Go with Part 2, Slide 35. Please pause this webinar now to complete this task. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. Review those sections of the local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan that you chose. Please pause this webinar now to complete this task. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. Imagine that you're an elementary, middle, or high school principal, and in the space provided in your participant guide, under To Go with Part 2, Slide 36, write a list of actions you would take to support the implementation of the local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan that you chose. Please pause this webinar now to complete this task. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. For the fifth example, Pc7 10, Descriptor 10 states that an effective leader establishes and implements a system to monitor progress toward meeting identified improvement goals. Some key words or phrases that may stand out from the descriptor are monitor progress. This phrase connects best to one of the 8 components of an effective continuity of learning or distance learning plan, and that is accountability and grading. After reading the accountability and grading section of the Pretend County Public Schools Continuity of Learning Plan, possible actions that would support the implementation of the plan could be for the school leader to create and administer surveys to students, families, teachers, and staff to assess the effectiveness of the delivery of education and to identify areas of improvement. Let's see how you do with the second Pc7 10 descriptor. This Pc7 10 descriptor 7 states that an effective leader establishes and implements a process to diagnose and respond to student learning needs. Reflect on keywords from the given Pc7 descriptor, Then select one or more of the 8 components of an effective continuity of learning or distance learning plan that best match your keywords. Write down the component or components in your participant guide under To Go with Part 2, slide 39. Please pause this webinar now to complete this task. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. Review those sections of the local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan that you chose. Please pause this webinar now to complete this task. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. Imagine that you're an elementary, middle, or high school principal, and in the space provided in your participant guide, under To Go with Part 2, slide 40, write a list of actions you would take to support the implementation of the local school system's continuity of learning or distance learning plan that you chose. Please pause this webinar now to complete this task. Continue to play the webinar when you are ready. You have come to the end of Part 2. This second part of the 2-part webinar focused on connecting 2 descriptors of effective leadership under each of the last 5 professional standards for educational leaders to one or more of the 8 components of an effective continuity of learning or distance learning plan. These connections help to envision the actions a school leader would take during a period of extended building school closures. You are now prepared to complete the extension experience in Part 3. All Part 3 scenarios can be found in your participant guide. Once participants have completed the extension experience in Part 3, the following 2 tasks are recommended. Start a leadership portfolio and add completed materials from each webinar to it. And include completed materials from this webinar with your application for continuing professional development credit. The Continuity of Learning for All Students During Building School Closures Part 2 webinar has been presented by Ms. Laura Liccioni, Coordinator of Academic Improvement in the Office of Leadership Development and School Improvement. She can be contacted by email at laura.liccioni@maryland.gov. Part 2 of this webinar experience has also been presented by Mr. Anders Alisea, Instructional Transformation Specialist in the Office of Leadership Development and School Improvement. He can be contacted by email at anders.alisea@maryland.gov.
The Office of Leadership Development and School Improvement would like to thank you for participating in the Leadership Preparation virtual webinar series. We hope you found this particular webinar informative and beneficial to your work as you prepare as a leader. To access the webinar series and find additional resources, please visit the Maryland Resource Hub. The Maryland Resource Hub can be located at marylandresourcehub.com. That is MarylandResourcehub.com. We appreciate your feedback and would ask that you take a moment at this time to complete the SurveyMonkey link or use the QR code. The feedback that you provide to us will inform our work in the office as we develop additional resources to support you in the field. Again, thank you very much for your time in completing the feedback. As a reminder, the continuing professional development credits are available to you for this leadership preparation webinar series. To receive 1 credit, you will need to view 5 webinars, parts 1 and 2, and complete 3 hours of experience for the webinar. That would include the pre-work, viewing the webinar, and completing the participant's guide, as well as extension activities related to the webinar. To receive 2 CPD credits, you will watch all 10 webinars, parts 1 and 2, and complete 3 hours of experience per webinar. Again, it would include the pre-work, viewing the webinar and completing the participant's guide while watching, and extension activities related to the webinar. After you have completed the work, you will then submit all of the materials to the Google Form link listed. If you need to contact us with any questions for any reason at the Office of Leadership Development and School Improvement, You can contact Ed Mitzel, Executive Director, at edmund.mitzel@maryland.gov. That is edmund.mitzel@maryland.gov. Or Dr. Lori Ellis, Coordinator for Leadership Development, at lori.ellis@maryland.gov. That is lori.ellis@maryland.gov.